Welcome back to the channel, all our warriors and wanderers, where every step is a story and every story lights the way. Last time, we took the first steps into the unknown, not a place, but a person, a force wrapped in silence, pain, and grace. She didn't burst onto the screen with fanfare or flash. She arrived like weathered stone in the earth, carved by time and shaken by storms. We walked through her shadows, uncovered fragments of a life stitched together by willpower, not by circumstance. Not all the pieces fit just yet, but that's the point. The story we started wasn't about neat conclusions. It was about honoring the kind of strength that the world doesn't notice until it's too late. When people see her now, they only see the surface, the strength, the grace under fire, the woman who moves like she already lived through the end of the world and made peace with it. But no one ever asked what it took to get there, because the truth is, no one ever wants to look that far down. No one ever wants to see what it costs to really become unbreakable. She wasn't always like this. There was a time she didn't know how to speak without permission. She didn't know how to breathe without apologizing for taking up space. She learned early, too early, that silence was safer than truth, that people only love you when you make yourself small enough to fit in there into their expectations. She did that. She folded herself up, neat, quiet, invisible, for as long as she could. She wasn't born strong. She was made that way by pain, pressure, and years of carrying things no one else could see. It was a reaction, an armor, the only way to survive. Most people think they know what survival looks like. They imagine running, fighting, escaping. But unfortunately, the hardest type of survival isn't loud like that. Sometimes it's just holding your breath long enough for danger to pass. It's smiling when you want to scream, or being so polite that nobody ever notices you're dying inside. She carried all of that for years, buried so deep that even she forgot where the truth ended and the performance began. But now she's finally ready to let her story surface, because there's a chance somebody's sitting in the dark watching this right now, and they're thinking no one could ever understand what they're carrying. This story, her story, is for all of them, all of you watching this and thinking that. So sit back, grab your favorite drink, and get ready to be taken back in time to where it all began, before the fire inside got that first spark, back to the first cracks in the foundation.
Stories carved from concrete and root, tracks rusting, sidewalks splitting, weeds rising, proof that nothing stays buried forever. From alleys and overpasses where hope flickers faint, to dawn-lit forests where breath turns to mist and fears fall silent. Hands roughened by city work and wilderness survival alike, shoulders burdened by memories, freed by the miles walked beyond them. This is a testament to grit, to wandering without apology, to building shelter from ruins. A journey forged for one woman's right to live as she was never allowed to before. A journey for every soul that refuses to bow to the grind. Voidkeeper Adventures, a life unhidden, a path unbeaten. Walk it with us.
It all began in the 1950s, a time soaked in conformity, when voices were stifled and silence was mistaken for virtue. Back then, a woman wasn't just overlooked, she was expected to endure, to smile, to disappear behind the walls of a home and the weight of expectations. In one such home, tucked behind drawn curtains and secrets no one dared say aloud, a child entered the world, the firstborn of 6, 4 sisters, 1 brother. It wasn't the kind of place where laughter echoes off the walls or bedtime stories soften in the dark. No, it was a place where love came laced with conditions, kindness came with strings, protection, that was a fairy tale whispered by people who had the luxury of believing in safety. In her world, the only way to survive was to become what everyone else needed. So she did. She absorbed the harshness, the neglect, the unspoken cruelties, so her younger siblings could cling to some semblance of safety. The worst part is, it didn't stop at home. The world outside didn't have room for a girl like her. No, one who wasn't afraid to see things as they were, but to pretend otherwise, just to make it through another day. She stayed in that hell not out of weakness, but because she believed in the idea of family. Her dream was no matter how frayed things got, they could be healed, or at the very least, held together. As Amber got older, she came to realize that things would never change in her household. She got married right after high school, but it didn't stop there. Life for her, it wasn't just hard, it was relentless. Years passed, the burdens didn't ease, they deepened. She stayed in a situation so toxic, so all consuming that most people wouldn't last a month, let alone decades. To give you a quick idea of what she went through, the man she married was a whack job. They lasted less than a year. Now I'm going to pause here, okay? I'm going to pause here, and there's a reason why. Because I want you to think about that. Really think about that for a second. They lasted less than a year, okay? But the craziest part is why, okay? You ready for this? You ready for why? I wanted to pause there to give you a second to prepare. Because during that half a year, or that time that they lasted, right? Amber spent most of it being ridiculed, shunned, hidden, or straight up ditched states away. This is why I gave you a moment, okay? Because think about that. You are her. You get married to get out of a controlling household, right? And you're married to a man that from the beginning ridicules you, shuns you, hides you away from people, and pretty much just ditches you straight up. Like you guys go to bed and then you wake up and he's gone. Or in other cases, flip it around. You go to bed, you wake up, and she's gone. She's ditched you, states away. Who knows where? No communication. Like, that's crazy, right? I'm not the only one that thinks that's nuts, right? Like, I can't hear you, but I'm assuming people are agreeing, like, yeah, that's completely nuts. But that's not even the craziest part. After being treated for like an object for practically their entire relationship, Amber was done. So some time goes past, and she meets a charming gentleman who she believes will finally be different. As most of you can guess by now, it wasn't. What she went through with this man can only be properly told by Amber herself. But what I can say is, after many years together, excuse me, after many years together, 2 abortions. Now, hear me out here, okay? Just hear me out for a second. 2 abortions that she felt was the right thing to do, because look at everything else she's went through. She's not ready to bring a child into this world. Then some time goes past, right? Even more. She has a daughter, and she gives the daughter up for adoption because she wants to keep the daughter safe. Because she's not sure with, once again, everything she's been through in her life. Then she has a son a little bit later on, right? And that son, she finally keeps it and raises the son, except for after a short time of raising the son, the state comes in and goes, you know what? We want him, and yoinks the son away, and that's the end of that, okay? So she's been through everything she's been through. She went through one bad marriage. She had all of that stuff happen. She meets another man who turns out to be worse than her family and this first husband she had. She goes through all of this trauma, and the final thing she has is her son taken away. All right? So you guys are following me here, right? But that wasn't it. The world still was not done beating her down. Can anyone guess what the world threw at her next? Any guesses? I'll wait. All right. A diagnosis that will turn anyone's world inside out. Cancer. Squamous cell carcinoma in the left side of her head, neck, throat, right? And tonsil area. Okay? To be exact. It forced her to confront the years she had spent pouring out every ounce of herself for everyone else. To decide, maybe for the first time, whether she wanted to beat this and really live or give up and pass on. The surgeries were brutal, the odds were worse. 3 times her heart stopped. 3 times the world tried to let her go. And 3 times she said no. She came back from the brink, from flat lines and final prayers, not because she wasn't ready to die, but because she finally realized she hadn't really lived. But the most painful part of this story is yet to come, okay? It's what came after she survived all that. Even after beating death, she found herself trapped in the same place with the same narcissistic, controlling, abusive, and completely deranged man she called her second husband. Nothing had changed. Not really. And no one saw it. They saw the survival, the grace, the patience, and a woman who had made peace with everything, but they never saw the cost. When I came back into her life, I thought I knew what I was walking into. I didn't. The truth was, she had already spent over 38 years inside a situation that drained her soul every single day. She stayed because she thought she had to, because sacrifice was second nature. But eventually, finally, something shifted. One day, she called me asking for help, not with just moving furniture or filing paperwork, but help getting out, help stepping away from the pain so she could begin to rewrite her story with quiet determination and the kind of courage that doesn't get celebrated. She began anew. For most, it was too raw, too real, and too uncomfortable to look at, let alone go through at her age. But there she was, standing next to me, bags in hand, walking tall and free into the unknown. And that was 6 years ago. Since then, we've hit rock bottom more than once. We've fought through systems built to fail people like her. We've faced judgment, poverty, illness, isolation. But we're still here. More importantly, she's still here. Though now, for the first time, the mask is off. To be clear, this is not about pointing fingers or wallowing in the past. This is about the truth. And setting the record straight for every soul who has ever been told to stay quiet, to shrink, to disappear. It's her story told her way, on her terms, finally coming to the surface, not for attention, but for liberation. So here we are, at the end of another chapter, but nowhere near the end of the story. If you're feeling heavy right now, that's okay. This isn't the kind of series you can just walk away from without carrying a piece of it. But that's the point. This journey we're on isn't about where we're going. It's about what we're facing down to get there. It's about peeling back the layers and saying, yes, this happened, and no, it doesn't get to define the ending. Because if Amber could survive all of that, if she can rise from ashes the world never saw burn, then maybe there's hope for the rest of us too. So if you're out there right now, sitting in silence, hiding your scars, wondering if anyone sees you, this is your sign. We see you, we hear you, and you're not alone anymore. I'm Voidkeeper. This is Voidkeeper Adventures, where the lost find their path. Thanks for walking with us.